comments?
This is for our benefit as well as Ledge Council.
Well, that's a good point.
If I had to swear an oath, what did we do?
I mean, as we all know, when we're putting together something for a presentation, we learn as much as we, right? So, all right.
It'd be interesting if we had, bills passed, both houses signed by the governor, this, that came out of here, this biennium.
Yeah.
That would be helpful, actually.
Yeah, and we do have that on our website,
Okay.
but yeah, we don't have a way to portray that, I guess, on the board, right? Because maybe
Put a little red sticker on them or something.
just a new column, yeah. Okay, we'll work on that. Good idea.
Okay, well, good afternoon. My name is Bradley Shulman with the Office of Legislative Counsel. I'm an attorney there, and today I will present a brief overview on the 2025 acts from that were passed out of this committee. And here they are. We'll go through each of these acts one by one, and I will give a brief overview of each of them. There's probably more detail in this presentation than the committee needs, but it is there for reference if you would like moving forward. So to start, we are starting with Act 34, an act establishing the Vermonters Feeding Vermonters grant at the Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets. So this grant program provides grants to the Vermont Food Bank to purchase local food and distribute that food throughout the food bank's distribution channels. It also permits the Vermont Food Bank to offer sub-grants to do this work. The next bill, Act 36, an act relating to the creation of the Molly Beatty Distinguished Service Award. This creates an award that the Commissioner of Forest, Parks, and Recreation will present annually to a current or former state employee or partner whose contributions honor the legacy of Molly Beatty in advancing the conservation, accessibility, quality of recreation experience, and sustainability of Vermont's public lands. Act 42, an act related to exemptions for food manufacturing establishments. So this act created a new category of food manufacturing establishments, cottage food operations, which refers to home kitchens or auxiliary kitchens on a person's private property where cottage food products are produced. This defined cottage food products to mean items sold by a cottage food operator that do not require refrigeration or time or temperature controls for safety. It exempted these operations with gross annual receipts of $30,000 or less from licensing requirements. But it does require these operations to submit a licensing exemption and to attest to the completion of training required by the Department of Health in this rule.
Before we move off this one, just coincidentally, tomorrow, I think LCAR is viewing the rule alluded to in the bottom at the end of this slide. It's actually an emergency rule because we had two-phased or two-pronged approach here, I think.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So the rule itself passed in early December. The standard rule passed in early December. However, due to an oversight, that rule was not properly filed afterwards. So it necessitated an emergency rule so the standard rule could go into effect or without a lapse between when the standard rule goes into effect. And so that is on the agenda for LCAR tomorrow.
I had, and this is sort of the thing that happens behind the scenes in the off season, for those who are interested, communication from the LCAR staff, I think, saying, here's the rule, that so we're working on it, and you can let us know if you see anything that's out of, looks askew here. And so I consulted with Ledge Counsel. It wasn't Bradley, it was Katie who helped us with that one. And so that happens when there are rules happening. So. Representative Boston.
Yeah, I actually have a question too. So I actually worked at a farmer's market this summer, sort of under this. I registered a small business and sold baked goods and other things. And there was another woman that was at my same farmer's market who sold exclusively cookies. And she wanted to sell her cookies to a coffee shop in our town. And I had somebody from the coffee shop come over to me and say, hey, you know about the law. Can she sell cookies at my coffee shop that are produced at her house because it's a home business? And I said, I don't actually know how that works. Is it limited where you sell your items if they're sold under 30,000? Like, could somebody do a secondary sale like that? Like somebody from a home cottage industry sell their cookies to a coffee shop that's then going to sell them to customers?
So I am not familiar with the kind of inner workings of that, but I can find the answer for you and get
Okay,
back to
if you
you.
could, that would be awesome because it's a live issue. In fact, this person they found to make cookies has literally, as of this month, stopped making their cookies. So we need cookies at our coffee shop at Flatiron and
That's why
Fells
the
Falls.
bill passed out.
All right, if you can let me know, I would
For
be
sure.
happy to pass on the word.
I will be happy to.
Okay.
Representative Bartholomew.
It's not really clear to me what food products would be included and excluded from this. And I can't remember from
I
the
can
Bill
answer that.
presentation.
I mean, basically, they said it has to be foods that are not easily going to be contaminated or have food poisoning. So almost any baked good is going to be fine, with the exception of something like a quiche or a tart with a cream filling or something like that. So basically, hot foods that you can't, anything that you have to cook that is supposed to maintain a temperature is not really, you would need to get a license for catering for that.
Baked
But-
goods, candies,
Yeah,
Right.
canned goods.
canned goods also were under this as well.
So like you make jams, there's that.
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
exactly. Yeah, and in my booth, I sold that stuff too. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Homemade mayonnaise, not so much.
Maybe not homemade mayonnaise. I didn't try that one.
Act 59 is a much larger bill. It's our miscellaneous agriculture bill from the House, House 44. So this bill amended several laws related to agriculture and environmental subjects. And because it's pretty big, I will go through each of these points and get them as quickly as I can here. So it conforms statute related to regulation of fertilizers, plant amendments, and soil amendments with national standards. It increased the annual pesticide product registration fee by $50 and directed that revenue. It required the Agency of Agriculture to study operations for sustainable funding sources, to reimburse solid waste management entities for all costs associated with collection and disposal of unwanted or obsolete pesticides. It directed the agency to submit a report, and the agency has done so in December 2025. The recommendation was to keep the increased fee and keep the allocation to solid waste management districts to offset those costs. Continuing with the agriculture bill, this bill provided that the Rutland County Fair shall continue to be required to obtain a 3-acre stormwater operating permit, but the fair shall not be required to pay a stormwater impact fee or complete an offset for those restrictions. It cannot complete because of site constraints. There was an issue with the Department of Forest, Parks, and Recreation rule, intent to cut notification emergency rules, standards, and procedures. This bill said that rule is full force and effect on or after July 1st, 2018. The issue there was that it was not properly published on or before that date as required by law. And so this rule undid that mistake. The bill amended the Household Hazardous Waste Producer Responsibility Program to clarify that it does not include paint products. And it provided that if Household Hazardous Waste Producer Stewardship Organization does not submit an approval plan, ANR may issue a plan and charge a manufacturer of covered household hazardous waste products for the cost of the program plus a penalty. This extended the date of the landfill disposal ban on covered household hazardous products by a year and provided A&R with authority to grant variances to the requirements for municipal household hazardous waste collection events. It's extended the producer responsibility, the EPR program for architectural paint to expand its scope to include additional paint products. The scope of the program was also expanded to clarify that the EPR program for paint and not the EPR program for covered household hazardous products is responsible for the collection and management of the expanded list of paint products. It's expanded the deadlines by 1 year for required construction of an efficiency project at a baseload power plant. That's it for the House Agriculture Miscellaneous Bill. Moving on to Act 61, an act related to protection of nuisance suits for agriculture activities. We discussed this a little bit yesterday. This bill amended the rights of farm protection for nuisance suits provided to farmers. It added a new definition of generally accepted agricultural practices. It provided that no agriculture activity shall become a nuisance when the activity is conducted in accordance with those practices. However, a farmer must be in good standing with the Agency of Agriculture and A&R to assert that nuisance protection. It's clarified that a plaintiff in a nuisance suit shall have the burden of proof by a preponderance of evidence to show that a farmer is not entitled to nuisance protection and is in fact a nuisance. A farmer doesn't receive the nuisance protection if the nuisance violation results from negligent operation of an agriculture activity. The agriculture activity has a substantial adverse effect on health, safety, or welfare based upon objective, documented medical or scientific evidence that the agriculture activity was a proximate cause of the alleged effect, or a reasonable person would find that the agriculture activity was a proximate cause of a noxious and significant interference with the use and enjoyment of neighboring property. This provided that the rights of farm protection from nuisance is to be liberally construed by courts. It's required that parties attempt to resolve nuisance claims arising from agriculture activity through mediation first before bringing a civil suit. Just because we spoke about Taft Street yesterday, I did want to discuss this. So protection from nuisance lawsuits is a litigation matter between parties, so neighbors, for example. These protections were not discussed, or it's not clear that that protection in particular would be affected by Taft Street, the decision we discussed yesterday. However, it is possible an aggrieved party could potentially seek municipal action to enforce local ordinances or zoning against a farm and to achieve a similar effect. So that's one potential thing to think about when considering the effects of the Taft Street decision on nuisance that we discussed yesterday.
Representative Bradley.
Bradley, so a municipality couldn't be a party if there was a suit?
I don't want to shoot from the hip. I think a municipality could potentially be a party. But I will look that up because I don't have the statute in front of me and I'd like to get an answer. So let me double check on that and get back to you.
Don, were you talking as a co-plaintiff or
Right, yeah.
subpoena?
No, like a plaintiff essentially.
Okay. Okay, and now we're moving on to another big bill, the Senate Miscellaneous Agriculture Bill. So the Senate Miscellaneous Agriculture Bill dealt largely with agriculture water quality, including regulation of point source discharges of waste or pollutants from concentrated animal feeding operations or CAFOs. The bill dealt a lot with the interaction between A&R and the Agency of Agriculture and how to regulate wastewater, agriculture water quality. So it struck the requirement that A&R and the Agency of Agriculture enter into a memorandum of understanding describing how the agency will comply with and implement CAFO program, the federal CAFO program requirements. Instead of that, the bill directed A&R in consultation with the United States EPA and the Agency of Agriculture to issue a document defining ANR's responsibilities in implementing the Clean Water Act. This document also defined the Agency of Agriculture's responsibilities in implementing the state's non-point source program for farms. This bill clarified that ANR is the regulatory entity in the state that is required to determine if there is a point source discharge from a large or medium CAFO that requires a CAFO permit. This bill defined what constitutes an animal feeding operation, a large CAFO, and a medium CAFO under ANR's authority. It's clarified that the discharges that ANR shall regulate are point source discharges of wastewater, waste or pollutants from AFOs to waters of the state, including waters of the United States, and to set forth a specific authority of ANR to regulate discharges from CAFOs. This bill further clarified that a discharge of manure, litter, or processed wastewater to waters from a CAFO as a result of the application of manure, litter, processed wastewater to a land area is a discharge from that CAFO subject to BPE. Excuse me? 50s. Okay. The Vermont Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, 50s. Writing that down. Thank you. Permit requirements, except where the manure, litter, or processed wastewater has been applied in accordance with a site-specific nutrient management plan approved by the Secretary. This bill required all medium and large farms to maintain documentation of a nutrient management plan and practices and make that available upon request. And provided that if the Agency of Agriculture determines that a farm may be discharging to the waters of the state, that the Agency of Agriculture has to notify ANR for a response according to the Federal Clean Water Act, CAFO rules. If a farm is required to then obtain a CAFO permit, the agency's vegetative buffer requirements no longer apply, and the farm must then comply with the federal buffer requirements.
Senator Bryant?
So Bradley, that top bullet point, when it says the management plan approved by the secretary, so that's AAFM, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
This bill amended the ban on land application of manure between December 15th and April 1st to allow for emergency exceptions. This clarified that the agency may require any new small farm to certify compliance with the required agricultural practices, and that the Agency of Agriculture may require any farm to regularly certify compliance with the RAPS, and establish a community stakeholder group on agricultural water quality to engage key agricultural stakeholders as part of a pre-rulemaking process to gather input on proposed CAFO rules and how best to implement ANR's CAFO program. And they should be reporting to the General Assembly. Our last bill here is Senate Bill 60, an act relating to the establishment of Farm Security Special Fund to provide grants for farm losses due to weather conditions. So we discussed this yesterday, or the committee discussed this yesterday while I was watching. But basically, this bill would create the Farm Security Special Fund to award grants. These grants would be up to 50% of the uninsured or uncovered losses due to eligible weather conditions, up to a maximum of $150,000 per year per farm. This would create the Farm Security Special Fund Review Board to review applications, make recommendations for awards, and annually review the application process. The status of this bill is that House Appropriations has requested an amendment that is largely technical, but would include language making the program contingent on funding. Mike is scheduled in House Appropriations on Tuesday, the 13th at 1:30 to discuss. That's the end of the presentation.
Right, back to the long one, F-124. So the stakeholder group and the report. I know we went back and forth a little bit on, or there was some discussion about the timing of the report, and when it should be delivered, and I honestly don't remember what we ended up with, but in reality, reports don't always come in on time anyway. And we will be hearing, I think, tomorrow or Friday about reports. We'll go through a list of all reports that we're scheduled to get or have gotten since we were here last. But maybe Representative Nelson has something that he can update us on.
We're meeting, the stakeholder groups meeting tomorrow in Williston. And again, the end of January in Williston. Which we were meeting over here at Vermont Life, and now maybe it's because I'm too close, they want to make me drive to Williston. Anyway,
Yeah.
and the report's supposed to be done by February 15th, I think. And Lord, I don't see how that's gonna happen. But we're working on it, and matter of fact, I was just maybe talking to the DEC commissioner about it just now and putting our heads together to make this go in the proper direction for the environment and for farmers, and there are all kinds of things I could talk to you about at another time.
Well, we will await that proper time then, and good to know about the timing. Thank you.
The work's going on, started off maybe a real little slow, and we've taken a little different direction now, whereas the stakeholders are gonna have more time to talk first before we have agency people come in and talk at us. And that's been the problem. We've had people talking at us, and we have good leadership amongst the agriculture contingency, and people understand it and get it and why it's important.
Good.
It's not like it's going to be 20 something years ago where you're not going to do this to us. No, we're going to do it and take care of it.
Thank you for being part of that group. And I think that just in terms of the timing, in my limited experience, reports tend to take longer than we expect them to take or ask them to take. And it might be good for us to, when next time we're asking for something new, to be conscious of that.
We didn't start until this summer.
Yeah.
We should have started in October.
There was probably a reason for that.
I don't know.
Representative O'Brien.
Maybe Richard would know this. So, what definition of CAFO are we working? It's an EPA definition?
Oh.
I know we had with LFOs.
So no, it won't be with, it has to at least meet EPA.
Uh-huh.
And of course, you understand maybe for the next 3 years, there would be the wild, wild west, if you know what I'm saying. And people aren't going to accept that. So we met with New York farmers Monday on Zoom and learned about their program, which isn't a whole lot unlike our program now. It's just little clearer on the parameters. Kind of sort of like we're trying to do now. DEC will be in charge of the production area and agriculture out in out in where we're growing crops and whatnot. A lot of the rules are similar. They have some practices though they do over there and work well that we are not allowed to do here, that perhaps we'd like to, as farmers, we'd like to be able to implement those practices here. The other thing is their funded program. And that's the big difference. When they need to fix something, they can fix it. And we would like to have that same opportunity for all size animal agriculture. So these are things we'll be looking at.
So New York's been using that CAFO definition
So-
and expression just in farming in general.
Yeah, so they started, they questioned, they were talking amongst themselves, they don't even know if they have a single capo over there right now in New York. Because they've got this, but when they started it, they said you have 5 years to do these practices. And they went through the 5 years and they said, well, it wasn't quite long enough. You have another 5 years to keep coming on. And they've been at it for 20 something years. And now they're where, so for farms expanding over there, they come in and they look, all right, do you have enough storage? Do you have this? Do you have this? And this is gonna go here, there. Yep, you're good to go. They've got it all figured out. And not to say we don't have that here, because I really believe we do, but it's just maybe defined a little better.
Okay.
And it's taken us 20 years to get so, it's subtle changes. And I think it'll be good. I really do.
I was just trying to find who's on that working group.
Yeah, who else is on the?
Stakeholder group. Well, there's people from the environmental side, which we have not met with yet. Jared Carpenter and people from CLF and VNRC. And they've been having their own meetings. On the ag side, myself and Tim Cahart and Walter Gladstone and someone from the St. Pierre firm, Pleasant View firm. Don Lucas is on it. There's our technical service providers. There's 3 of them on it. Heather Darby, Keith Sprague, down your way, Paul Doughton.
Yeah.
So we have large farms, small farms, medium farms, extension, technical service providers, and of course then, about 17 people from ANR DEC and 17 people from ag. There's not that many, and we have everybody but Ledge Council.
Where do we find them? Working groups and stakeholder groups like that on our,
It would probably be under the agency
we,
page somewhere.
Okay.
But which agency?
it should be under it because everyone gets paid a stipend,
Right.
and all the meetings are public and they're all recorded.
Is it ANR or?
I think it's in our DEC
Okay.
because Abby Paycheck leads the meetings and doing a good job. We just need, and we have a great facilitator working with us, and I think they saw a need to change things up to move the process along.
Thank you. Any other questions for Bradley about all the good work we did last year? And I hope it was helpful for you, Bradley, to
It was.
compile it. Yeah. Good. All right, we are to be on the floor at 1:45, which gives us a couple of minutes if anybody has any other business. Hi, Greg.
It's front parking right now.
Oh, yeah, I know that they blocked off.
Berry City or Berry Town?
Down behind the ag building's good a lot of times.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor.
I think we can go off the live stream then.
I think you have some mail